So, just to show everyone at home that these are empty, I always check prior to recording, but just to make everybody feel better at home, I do want to showcase that I did clear all these prior to videoing. Show empty, and we'll get started with a whole lot of rambling about 5.56 and 300 Blackout. So, the Mark 18. This firearm has been around for a very, very long time. I want to say late 90s, early 2000s, Navy SEALs needed a more short barreled 5.56, well, something with a little more punch than the 9mm MP5s they were using at the time, which gave them the Mark 18. So, 5.56 was designed to be shot out of a 20-inch barrel, the M16, what it was originally designed for. And over the years, ammo companies have come out with better rounds for these shorter barrels, and we've been able to chop the system down more and more and more. 10.3 is about as low as you would want to go with this cartridge. You're right there at that bleeding edge of reliability, but still, with a 10.3, you are going to get a lot more accelerated parts wear. The life cycle of this weapon is going to be shorter of that than the 14.5, the 13.7, your 16s, your 20s. Those are all going to last a bit longer than this, just because of how violent the cycling of action on this weapon is compared to those. But a pro to the Mark 18 is that parts interchangeability between some of those rifles, like charging handles, bolt carrier groups, lower receivers, gas tubes, gas blocks, muzzle devices, all of those are going to be fairly common, easy to find, as well as the round itself is going to be very easy to come by. Mark 18s are notoriously over-gassed to make up for the fact that that round does not have much dwell time. Now, that can be mitigated by changing out your gas block, tuning it for a specific ammo type, and just running that one ammo type in it. But say you wanted to have the ability to run subsonic and supersonic through your gun, and it be truly what each of those mean. And what I mean by that is that supersonic crack. You want to try to eliminate that with a shorter 5.56. It's an impossible task. It just doesn't work, at least well. But the Mark 18 does a lot of things well. It is still a very, very effective short weapon. This round will be 5.56 out of this barrel length is still going to be effective at 200 yards, 300 yards, 400 yards. You're going to be able to score those hits and still have enough power to take care of whatever you need to take care of. I'm not one of those that thinks the Mark 18 stops being a lethal weapon at 50 yards, 100 yards, and then it just drops off. Do you have a lot more bleed off of velocity of foot-pounds of energy on target? Yes, you do. But it's not just something you lob out of the barrel and then it's a BB past 100 yards. Now, the topic of this video is the Mark 18 Obsolete. The reason why I'm bringing this up now is because things like the Sig Spear LT exist. And if you've watched any other videos on my channel, you've seen I'm a giant lover of Daniel Defense rifles. In fact, every rifle or AR pistol I own is from Daniel Defense, except for the 300 Blackout PDW. Now, I covered that in more detail on the Sig Spear MCX video itself. If you want to, you can watch that, but the reason was the DDM4 PDW, in order to swap between supersonic, subsonic loadings, you had to swap out your buffer spring in order to cycle the different rounds. Now, 300 Blackout was designed to be ran out of a 9 to 10 inch barrel, and that was all you needed to have an effective full powder burn. You got the absolute most out of that projectile from a 9 to 10 inch barrel, and I think that's what makes this cartridge so great. It has been around for a bit now. Ammo manufacturers have come out with some amazing different loadings for this cartridge that are finally more commonplace. They're not as hard to get your hands on anymore, and you certainly see a lot more of it now. What I think is amazing about this platform and the cartridge itself is having the ability to have something that's essentially the same size as an MP5 with a lot more lethality. Now, you can run this thing suppressed with subsonic ammunition and have an effective tool out to 100 yards without losing a ton of energy downrange. And at the drop of a hat, when things go loud, when the other shoe falls, you can just drop your mag, swap to supers, and get to rocking and rolling. You've just quadrupled your effective range, more or less. With this certain platform right here, this specific platform, if you needed to, you could swap your gas settings to adverse. If it's some particularly dirty ammo, remanufactured ammo, but this platform can handle it. There are some others in the 300 Blackout category that can do that as well. I'm not saying the MCX is the only one that does it, but it certainly is one of the best in its particular category. But the capability to be able to go from a quiet subsonic cartridge to a supersonic cartridge that just, I'm gonna say triples this time, triples your effective range at the drop of a dime. I mean, that's unheard of with other firearms, other cartridges. You just don't see that. You don't get that. Now, I think 8.6 Blackout, the newest from Q, or Q, is another type of cartridge. It's quite larger than this one that does the same thing very, very well. But as far as what's been around for a bit, what's starting to become more commonplace and available, where if something were to break on this, you're not going to be as pressed or as hard pressed to find it. It's going to be easier to get your hands on than it used to be. And for all of these reasons, I think that this gives you way more capability than the Mark 18 does. I think that for the barrel length, you could even afford to go even shorter than this if you want to. SIG just came out with their Rattler LT. You could go shorter than 9 inches and still get just a ton of capability, a ton of energy downrange out of the 300 Blackout and be perfectly fine. and it is just such a short, compact weapon system. Now, to compare the two, just so you know, I have this fully collapsed right here. Let's see, make sure I get these in frame. You're talking a piston system, bufferless design. That is a difference of about 6 inches right there, 7 inches. I mean, it's just insane that this is an option that we have available to us. And yes, 300 Blackout is more expensive. It is not a cheap round to shoot, but it's coming down. I think what you get out of this platform is a lot more than the Mark 18 can currently offer, with everything available at its disposal. Different grain weights, loadings, gas systems, you name it. You're going to get more bang for your buck, more capability out of the 300 Blackout now than you would the 10-3-5.56. There are pros and cons to each platform. You know, ammo availability is something I've left out on purpose. Parts availability is something we've talked about. It is becoming better with 300 Blackout, ammo availability and parts availability. But this is still America's rifle. The AR-15 is one of the most prominent firearms in the United States. And because of that, the ammo and all of the parts on this are going to be substantially easier to get than this. Well, all of the aforementioned things for this. But I think just from a statistics standpoint, going over what we've talked about so far, if you had to choose one, I would go with the 300 Blackout. I truly believe that this is going to be the go-to PDW, the go-to short home defense, truck gun, do-all type of firearm that slowly does phase out the Mark 18. Now, I still maintain, even after this video, that the Mark 18 is my baby. It is my favorite gun of any that I own, and if I only had to own one, this would be it. But I can admit that I get more out of this Sig Spear LT than I do my Mark 18, for some of the reasons that we have talked about. But I just kind of wanted to have this little talk with everybody about this, and in all honesty, I'm really excited to see 300 Blackout, the gun industry in general, the kind of progress that'll be made in the years to come, the crazy new things that we're all going to get to see, and I'm ready for it. I'm excited about it. But I just enjoy getting to come and talk to you guys, even if it's only, you know, a couple hundred people decide to watch this and check it out, throw out a comment discussing their builds, their thoughts on it. I love every bit of it. I enjoy this stuff, especially on rainy Fridays like today. But if you've enjoyed watching this at all, make sure to leave a like or subscribe, notifications, all the YouTube buttons. I'd appreciate it. I appreciate you guys coming to hang out and chill with me today, and I hope you all have an absolutely amazing weekend, following week, hell, rest of your lives. I hope it's great. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. I'll see you in the next video. I'm gonna quit rambling at you. I gotta put this down first. But I'll see you guys next time. Deuces.